Are you bored of wading through the storm of mediocre seasonal anime? Feel like you're losing interest in the medium due to so many series being plagued with problematic anime tropes and uncomfortable moments? You need a series that expresses love and compassion in a wholesome and mature way. You need Frieren. Frieren is uplifting. It completely shocked and refreshed me. This series hasn't even finished airing yet, and I am enraptured. Frieren has quickly become a staple for me. Every week, I look forward to experiencing the peace of paradise that each newly aired episode provides. It is a loving and warm embrace that focuses on bettering oneself, learning from your past mistakes, and growing to become a better and more empathetic person. It highlights the loss of loved ones, whether through death or growing apart, and learning from each of these interactions. It is so light and tender, with its focus on appreciating life and believing that someone's past does not define them. It lets its characters and the viewer escape all that they feel ashamed of. But it also makes sure that you focus on these lessons that these mistakes in your past have taught you. To not give up hope that these moments where you were a bad person, where you did make mistakes, to believe that these aren't you. You're not, and you will not be this person, because you will be more caring. You will be more appreciative. You will be better. You know what it feels like to falter, so you won't do it again. With its major focus on bettering oneself, Frieren feels extremely warm. Yet, it doesn't shy away from death and pain. It preaches that death is important. Important because the harsh pain can create change. It can dispel the hex of cynicism that has been cast on you. You didn't appreciate life with this person enough when you had them. So, when you eventually encounter another, you will remember. Remember to be even more caring, to listen and truly understand them as a person, to be more kind, more understanding, and more loving. Then, you won't have any regrets when they eventually leave your life. Whether through choice or circumstance, it doesn't matter. You will have appreciated every moment and will have the memories to cherish, knowing you did all you could to make them happy. Frieren begins her journey with a group of 4. After the death of one of her partners, she changes. During their adventures, she didn't care. She hadn't tried to understand him. She was apathetic. But this jarring loss hit her hard. It truly affected her. It affected her to the core. She wasn't proud of how she treated them. So, she decides to change. This is where Frieren Journey's End begins. The first new friendship that Frieren creates is with Fern. Fern being the orphaned apprentice of her old companion Heiter. Fern lost everything. Her family was taken from her at a young age. Her past was painful, so she gave up. Fern kills herself. Or rather, would have, if it wasn't for Heiter. He meets her at the cliff that she plans to throw herself off of. He explains to her how he had lost those dear to him as well, that those he loved and lost were magnificent. And, most integral, that he had realized that quietly dying would be a waste. That all he had learned about friendship, strength of will, and courage, all the previous memories would vanish like they had never been. Suicide is a very difficult thing to discuss, especially in media. This is a great way of providing a loving message laced with mountains of hope. He doesn't scream at Fern that she can't do it. He provides an understanding of loss, explains how he himself is weak, and provides a hope of change. This realistic yet optimistic appeal works and stops Fern from ending her life prematurely. And in the end, Heiter does make a difference. He ends up saving someone's life, just as his old friend Himmel would have. Himmel's lessons of love and compassion were not lost. They literally are alive inside of Fern. Alive in Fern because of Heiter. When Frieren meets Fern, she is tirelessly studying magic. She is doing everything she can to become a mage. Heiter has become old and withered with little time left on this earth. Fern is rushing against the clock, rushing to show him that she can be something, that she won't waste the life that he saved, that his life had meaning, and that he had done good just as Himmel had. She wanted to remove any worry or doubt. She wanted Heiter to rest in peace, knowing that she would be okay and could fend for herself without him. The compassion that Heiter had shown to Fern that day was not forgotten. Fern returns it to him with her acts before his passing. This is the cycle of love which is true to life. The cycle that Himmel created was not broken. Fern will no longer throw away her life. She is no longer the past version of herself. And she will continue to pass on this kindness. Just as Frieren will continue to do the same by taking Fern under her wing and expanding her knowledge and love for magic. Fern and Frieren quickly grow close in their travels. It was nice watching these two simply exist in the world. Frieren is so quiet and peaceful. It is quaint and calm, with their duo simply exploring and living, but somehow it never feels boring. Each episode is truly enjoyable due to the feelings of happiness and hope. The series is so enjoyable that it doesn't matter what our characters are doing, and when they decide to ramp things up, it goes from amazing to near perfect. Frieren is extremely uplifting and refreshing in the way that it displays its themes and messages in such a calm and mature manner. One moment that will forever stick with me is the discussion that Fern and Frieren had during their search for the Blue Moon weed. Fern tells Frieren that she doesn't understand why Frieren loves magic so much. Frieren tells her she does understand, that they both feel the same. Fern retorts that it is not the same, that she herself could have learned any skill to be self-sufficient and would have been all the same. Frieren simply smiles and responds, "Well, that's what you chose." This was one of the most amazing lines that I have ever heard in all of anime. It is so simple yet cuts so deep. I am someone who constantly thinks about what would have happened. I focus on the greener grass behind the hill I didn't decide to climb. Frieren simply and calmly states that what we chose is our choice. It is what we believed would be best. Once again, there isn't a point focusing on the past. You are currently here on your path, the one that you have carved for yourself. Sometimes you will make wrong turns, but due to being incapable of turning around, there is no point imagining what would have happened. This quote reminds you of your own agency. Due to our perspective, we tend to play the victim or feel sorry for ourselves when bad things happen. Frieren gently reminds us that our decisions are our own. Even if our choice was heavily dictated by circumstance, we still ended up choosing this path with our limited information. We thought that this would be best, so why be mad or sad about not choosing the other direction? You can still make change when you need to, but you can also let go and not worry as you walk forward. The anime can state such a powerful message so matter-of-factly, which shows its maturity and realism. Things will be okay, because you chose the path that was right for you. The next beautiful moment between the two was during the Sunrise Festival. Frieren had previously been to this village with her old companions. Back then, they had all planned to watch the sunrise together, but Frieren saw no point in it. She valued sleep more than spending time with her friends. So, she didn't join them. But this isn't the same Frieren anymore. When Fern hears about the festival, she asks Frieren to watch the sunrise with her, which she quickly agrees to. Of course, Frieren accidentally oversleeps, but Fern shows her caring nature by not quitting until she is awake, making sure they can share this special moment. A moment that Frieren had missed in her past, before she understood compassion and caring for someone. Frieren and Fern make it to the festival on time and catch the sunrise. But Frieren isn't moved by it. She notes that it's pretty, but not worth waking up this early for. That is, until she looks over at Fern. Fern is absolutely enraptured by the view. Then Frieren understands. She understands that bringing happiness to the ones you care for can create it in yourself as well. When someone you care for is enjoying something, it causes you to do the same. That empathy and understanding another is truly beautiful. Another major strength of Frieren is how it makes you trust it, just as you should be doing with life. Trusting that things will be okay, that things will mellow out and return to that feeling of enjoyment and peace once again. It may just take some extra time to get there, but trust it. This series sets itself apart from many others in how it illustrates and draws attention to the flaws and negative aspects of its characters, and then addresses them quickly and decisively. I first encounter this with Frieren herself. In the first episode, she comes off as rude and cold to her comrades. She doesn't seem to care about anything. She's snarky and passive-aggressive, and not a character I would normally enjoy, especially as a lead. However, once Himmel dies, Frieren weeps. You see her slowly begin to realize how she took their interactions for granted, that she didn't appreciate them enough, that she wasn't kind enough and didn't try to genuinely learn about and have a connection with any of them. She vows to change, to become someone who embodies all of the things that she is not, all of the things that she wants to be, and she follows up on this promise. The second time I was worried about the series was the introduction of the third member of our group, Stark. Stark came off as fairly goofy and edgy at first, but they do an amazing job of characterizing him to make him feel extremely likable extremely quickly. They remove any chance of the viewer not relating and empathizing for him with his constant struggle with self-confidence. Stark is strong, but holds himself back because of his past cowardice. The mistakes he had once made haunt him to this very day, ironically stunting him from any chance of acting bravely or valiantly in the present and future. But Frieren and Fern change this. With the dragon threatening to burn down a nearby village, Fern and Frieren ask for his help in taking it down. They plan to reconvene the next day to fight the dragon, and Frieren goes to sleep. Frieren stays back and speaks with Stark. He confides in her that he let his master down and that he is a coward, that he had run away from his village when it was under attack, and that he will do the same tomorrow with the dragon. While he is speaking, Frieren quietly examines his hand. These show just how hard he is training, how hard he is trying to not be a coward, to not be weak, and to not make the same mistake again. She then tells him a story about her first interaction fighting a monster. She tells him how she was terrified and that she ran. She called out and begged Frieren to slay the monster, but she was nowhere to be seen. Then, when Frieren had nowhere else to run, she turned around and vanquished it. She hadn't believed in herself. She had let fear win. But when she actually faced it, she defeated it easily. She was stronger than she thought. This is also a metaphor for change. She had run backwards, away from where she had started. Her fear not only made her stop progressing, it sent her further backward. But when she faces it, when she does the difficult part, she can finally take a step forward, a step in the right direction. The first step of change. A journey begins with a single step. The next day, Frieren and Frieren show up, ready to fight the dragon. But Stark is nowhere to be seen. He had run away again. He let his cowardice win. Except, not actually. He does show up, ready to give up his life, doing something brave. Before the fight begins, Frieren notices Stark shaking. She asks him if he's scared, which he simply replies that of course he is. This is beautiful in the first place because Stark is petrified, but he isn't running. He won't make the same mistake he made in the past. He won't run. He will make himself fight. He will do what he knows is right. He will do what he doesn't want to in order to save and help others. But this shaking holds a double meaning. Frieren remarks that he shakes just like Eisen. Eisen, Frieren's old companion and Stark's old master, were one and the same. This is also an extremely kind thing to say, as Stark feels guilty for being a coward and sees his master as somebody who's solely brave. Stark is shocked that his master was ever scared. To him, he was perfect, and Stark could never live up to him. Stark was weak. Stark ran. Stark is a coward, but that isn't true. They both get terrified before a battle. The difference was that Eisen had faced the fear, where Stark had ran, but no longer. Stark has learned from his past and jumps into battle, with the newfound belief that he can do it. The belief that he is just like his master. Everyone gets scared. What matters is what you do when fear undoubtedly shows itself. Will you run, or will you steel your resolve? That's what determines a true warrior. Not only is this fight breathtaking to watch, and beautifully and uniquely animated, but is also so motivating and uplifting. And it all culminates in a beautiful moment. Stark is able to keep the dragon at bay for just long enough for Frieren to kill it. But she isn't moving. Stark screams at her, begging her to kill it before it gets up. Then she tells him, it's already dead. Stark had done it, all on his own. He just couldn't believe it. He had never trusted himself or his true strength. Yet, with even a fraction of this belief, he achieves something grand. Each of these interactions between our main characters communicates the yearning for change that each of them harbors. They all want to become better people and are taking the necessary steps to do so. They are trying their absolute hardest to escape their past pain and honor their loved ones. Frieren houses a massive amount of respect for both the audience and its characters. It is extremely refreshing and uplifting. It is able to take things slow while keeping each moment enjoyable no matter what our adventurers are doing. The appreciation for life and living beams outward from the screen and is infectious. It is so hopeful and warm, so loving and kind. It is an adventure you want to continue to experience until the journey's end.